Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with life coach Linda Armstrong and special guest Bill G joining us today. Today is Friday, April the 19th. It's 4 p.m., actually about 4:14 p.m. in New York. It's 1 p.m. in Los Angeles or thereabouts, 9 p.m. in London, Sydney, Australia. I think you're around 6 a.m., but wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And we are happy that we are moving over to the Zoom platform for doing our podcast recording for a number of reasons, most of which are directed toward making my job easier. And already I've gotten good feedback from Linda. She likes the Zoom platform better than Blue Jeans. So I'm glad I've already made Linda happy. That alone makes it worthwhile. I'm so glad.
Well, I mean, last week we couldn't even dance to the music because it wasn't even showing.
That's true. Yeah. But now, the music works and everything, and it's cool. So it's good stuff. And Bill actually made a request a couple weeks ago, I think it was. Let's do a show with Linda because you guys kind of have some overlap in what you do. Linda, you're all about the energy. You're all about the spiritual side. And, of course, Bill does the spiritual response therapy work. So I thought, that's an interesting match. Let's try doing that sometime. So this is an experiment in that way, too, to have you guys meet each other, say hello, and see where the overlap is and so forth. So, Bill, how you doing? I mean, I imagine you have your pendulum. You always have your pendulum, right?
I have pendulum will travel.
There you go. Yeah.
I never go anywhere without it.
I believe it. Now, Linda has. What do you call you have a special one? What do you call that one?
I always have a pendulum in my bag, whether I use it or not. It's like because it's in tune with me.
But what's the one that's got all the the copper on it and all that kind of thing?
It's my etheric weaver.
The weaver, that's what it was. Yeah, that one I thought was one of the coolest ones I've ever seen.
It had. Where's the camera? It has copper holding two magnets together, and so it works to just weave together your etheric field wherever there's any imbalances or whatever that might be.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. And plus I also got a demonstration one time, Bill. I can't, what was one of the meditations? Is that what it was? I can't remember which show it was.
I think it's just at the end of a show one day. Is
that what it was? Yeah. And she pulled it out and I don't remember exactly what we talked about, but I do remember the information, the results that came out of it were like blowing my mind. So that's why I'm so impressed with it. Plus, I like the fact that it has the copper on it. That I kind of like
that. Yeah. And magnets.
Sometimes a client will call me while I'm driving, and so it's very hard to do a pendulum and drive at the same time.
No, tell me you don't use the pendulum to decide should I turn left, should I turn right.
No, but for that I use the muscle testing.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's great.
The way the muscle testing goes is you put your middle finger against your thumb and you ask a question, and if it pops out, then the answer is no, and if it holds, then the answer is yes.
Okay,
I've never done it that way. Tell me that again.
Yeah,
so it's like you're holding your middle finger back, and you're trying to flick it.
You're trying to flick it, and when you ask a question and the answer is yes, then it's not. Then it's going to hold, and if the answer is no, it'll pop.
Okay, so do you test it so if I say, because I do muscle testing with.
Yeah, it's the same process, but you again when you got one hand on the steering wheel.
So if I close my eyes and I say my name is Linda, it's strong. My name is Jane. Yeah, okay. My name's Mary. My name's Linda. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff.
Should we put in a disclaimer? Please do not muscle test and drive at the same time.
I'm actually happy to learn another way of doing that because sometimes people, because I work online with a lot of people, not in person, I'll test them myself. And sometimes they just don't trust it, but there's always the fail safe where you stand, find your yes and your no.
I actually learned this technique from Karen Kahn. She's an MD metaphysical person out of the Catskills, and she does a YouTube channel. And she did a YouTube channel about doing this muscle testing, using that, and I was like, "Oh, that's neat."
Yeah.
For those times when I can't reach for the pendulum because I'm in a moving vehicle, there you go.
Cool.
Yeah.
But you didn't answer my earlier question, though. My earlier question is, do you use it like a GPS?
Oh, sometimes.
Really?
But I have a GPS. But when I really need a GPS, I'll plug in the GPS.
So the electronic device is the backup. That's pretty cool.
Or if I'm trying to decide which door to pick, if I'm at the right address, but there's like 3 doors and they're unlabeled or they got numbers on them, I don't know which number it is. Then I'll say, okay, which door is it? Was it 1, 2, or 3? And then I'll do a muscle test, and usually I'm right.
Yeah. So do you ever just work off of your intuition without your pendulum?
Yes. Yes, yeah. I do. Yes. And actually, the more work I do with this, the more comfortable I am with my intuition.
Yeah.
Now, I got to tell you, Linda, one of the things that Bill told me, and this was like within the last couple of weeks or so, we were in a private conversation, and I think it was offline after a show or something like that. He told me that he watches you and I doing the Friday podcast, and he'll hear me asking you questions about, how the energy works, the spirit, or whatever. And his reaction is, but Walt, it's so obvious. Why don't you see it?
Hey, Walt, you've come a long, long way. I'm very proud of you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But I figured, if he was going to tease me about where I've been in terms of my spiritual understanding, I figured, well, okay, that alone, I guess, makes you on par enough with Linda that, okay, I can just have the two of you talk, and I'll just sit back and I'll just kind of, work the keyboard while you guys do a conversation.
Yeah, for you though, Walt, it's just bypassing the mind, because you always want to figure out how it works,
Well, that's true for anybody on some level.
Not for me. I don't need to know how it works.
Okay, well, you're not just anybody though. That's the thing.
I run into that a lot with clients that they're like, well, why this? Why this? Why this? Why this? And a lot of times I get a little exasperated and I say, why do you need to know?
Yeah.
Why is it so important for you to understand the mechanics here? Well, you know it works, and you're following high self, and that, and we've cleared it, and the more you think about it, the more likely you are to put that program back. So just be okay with it.
Yeah. Or maybe they just need to be connected to this, knowing that they have the same ability themselves. It's just untapped. It's in there. It's already within you, because a lot of people then they're like, oh, you mean I actually can do something like this, or I can trust what I know? Like, yeah. Now we're getting somewhere.
And actually, that's the central theme of my practice and the practice that I do together with my wife Nina. Is when people come to see us, we're like, okay, we're not going to do the work for you. We're going to show you some direction here, but all the work is up to you, and you can do this. And and usually the first 2 sessions is convincing them that they can do it. Because they're usually coming to us at a place where they're feeling very low or they're feeling very helpless. And they just want somebody to come and fix it.
Yeah. And then there's also people who have actually tried a lot of things but never really tapped into their own power, still putting it outside of themselves.
Right.
I don't know what I was going to go with that. But anyway, they just need to be seen as someone who actually can do this. It is possible for you. You have this ability, and then they can maybe open up, because there are some people that just aren't ready to heal, no matter what you do.
That's true.
It's like, listen, it's up to you. Do you want this?
Well, I think for me, it's really about, do I actually believe that this is actually happening? And I mean, Linda, you've actually led me through a lot of stuff that helps me to actually feel the energy and experience it and so forth. So it makes it easier for me to start believing that, well, yeah, I really am connecting to what I like to call my inner Walt rather than my higher self. And so it starts to feel more real that way. So for me, I think it's almost like it's a tangible, it's a touch thing. Can I actually touch it?
Yeah.
Well, I think too for you is you're actually really connecting more to this fact that you have support and spirit. And so like you're getting throughout the week or with everybody else you're working with, you're sensing and feeling things and you're noticing it and you're like,
yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So you're either, you're proving it to yourself, but I think it's your team is helping you to really grasp it, get the understanding and step into it even more.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah.
And look how easy it could be.
It does get easier over time. I think it's because as the trust grows, that's where the easiness comes in. It's really just about trusting it.
Or noticing evidence. And you're like, oh, what was that?
Yeah. whenever I see a client for the first time, we spend the first half hour just clearing the blocks to belief. Clearing the blocks to what is it that's preventing me from even wanting to get this process started, or what's preventing me from believing that this is going to work. And so we clear that first, and then that opens up the possibility for them to look into what's really bothering them. And a lot of times in the first session, we don't even hit the main complaint. We're just working on getting them to a point where their belief in the process is strong enough where they can actually begin doing the work.
Yeah, I like to refer to it with anything, whether it's believing that the work works or the actual work.
Right.
It's like just, you're just peeling away the layers. There's more that's going to come up, and we're just going to keep peeling it away and, getting to that pearl in there and really feeling the benefit of it.
Yeah, and the thing we learned with working with Alex is that the main complaint was not the main complaint.
Oh, yeah.
The main complaint for her was the insomnia, and that was just a symptom of a much, much deeper problem that needed to be addressed. And so we hit that first, and okay, well, all right, we've hit a surface level here, but there is way more, many more layers to this. And so we dive deeper, and once we hit those layers, then we're like, okay, now we're at a point where we can actually heal. And so, the last two sessions we were doing, when we did the inner child progression and then the brain restructuring, whatever, that's the work. And I'm really looking forward to next Tuesday too, because then we're going to do what we call a mop-up.
A mop-up, okay.
A mop-up, which is also going to be fun.
Okay, all right, looking forward to that.
Yeah, But I just want to say, and that just goes to show how it's really important to find someone who can do energy work with you, because you think it's like muscle testing. They think they hold a certain belief. No, they don't have that. It's something totally different. And, so sometimes, when I tune in, I'm seeing something totally different than what they came with.
Right.
But luckily they trust me enough. They're like, okay, let's just go with it. And then something releases.
Right.
Which actually opens the door possibly to the other thing, or the other thing never comes up because it wasn't it to begin with. Right. Yeah.
I got a perfect question for the two of you. I saw it on Facebook just like an hour before we came onto the shows today. The person had posted something to the effect of, I keep seeing all this stuff about spirituality and about auras and angels and spirit guides and all that other stuff. But isn't this just law of attraction and vibration? Why are we making this so complicated? Why are we going off in all these directions? It should be just about you focus on it, you vibrate, you attract, and you're done. What do you guys think?
Well, I think law of attraction is just one piece of it.
Yeah.
There's so much. I mean, it's an infinite universe, right? So why can't there be infinite ways of having connection to the deeper part of us, which is a part of everything, right? So they can't just, who would want just one thing? I like having lots of tools.
I do too, actually.
Because maybe there's one tool, and I do a bunch of different modalities, and I pretty much work with whatever one intuitively comes to me that I know, or I don't know, I just feel it, that is going to really be the one to work with. I'm not limited to one thing, because I don't know. Is there a better way to say that? Okay.
Well, there's let's take guardian angels, for example. A lot of people believe in guardian angels. I'm one of them that believes that guardian angels actually exist. And somebody's like, I want to communicate with my guardian angel. What wisdom do they have for me? And I'm like, that's not exactly how they work. They guard. They are the palace guards. They are there to obey orders. And so if you think of the guardian angels as your palace guards, and you are the palace, and you put out an intention into the universe saying, I want this. I want something, I want something positive in my life. Guardian angels go out and get it for you. And they're part of that mechanism of attraction.
Are you familiar with Sonia Choquette?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Well, she's a psychic medium, and she does a lot of personal development stuff, and she's really into angels, and she'll have a whole tier of how they all work and all that. Everybody has, so many people have different ways of how they perceive it.
Right.
So everything you're saying is really cool. But what made me think of is that, like she calls them runner angels when they go out and they get you the things that you need.
Right.
So like I play with it that way because it's more fun. It's fun to play with this energy. And I've had these runners go out and find stuff for me that I couldn't locate. And it would just show up, Right. And the guardian angel, the way I understand that one too is that they're the only angels that can actually step in because we have free will. Nobody can do anything unless we ask, but these guardian angels can. Right. And so an example I want to just give in case people think, in case this is kind of foreign to them. My son's a bit of a daredevil. He likes to go really fast on his motorcycle. And actually this one time it was even just in my backyard and he's playing around with a dirt bike or something like that. And the bike kind of lost control and he was heading right for the tree. And he said he heard no, and his bike went the other way. Boom. He didn't crash.
Wow.
But he actually heard no, and then he was course corrected. It's happened a few times for him where he actually hears no for some reason. That's what he hears, no, and then.
That's crazy.
I had a client who was he hung lights for a concert venue. And he was up on the scaffolding. He was hanging lights, and somebody had didn't secure the scaffolding properly, and he fell. And he fell like 40 feet, heading right for the chairs. And if he had hit those chairs, he would have been dead instantly.
Wow.
And then halfway down, he felt this gust of air moving him safely onto the stage.
Oh, my God.
And even though he had just gotten the wind knocked out of him, no broken bones, and he was able to get right back up on the scaffolding and finish the job. And he was like, "What was that?" And I checked it, and I was like, "Guardian angels." Yeah, they were. It was definitely your guardian angels. They were looking out for you.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, that explains something actually that I've heard this explanation before, but this explains it with some new texture and detail. Because I've run into something that I think a lot of people run into, which is. If I look at the three most common issues that people have when they're trying to attract stuff, it's usually abundance of wealth, abundance of relationships, or abundance of health. Those are like the big three, I think. And the one that I struggle, everyone seems to have one thing that they struggle with the most. My struggle tends to be more with the wealth thing. But I find, and Louise and I have both found this, if we're dealing with a particularly tough patch, at the very last moment, something works out. Over and over and over and over again. And it's been suggested to me that's a guardian angel coming in there.
Could be.
Could be.
Let me check.
Could be.
Sure, yeah, take a
look. Could be your guides also course correcting you,
Could be. It could be.
Yeah.
Let's see.
That raises an interesting question. What is the difference between a spirit guide and a guardian angel? What's the difference?
Okay. Well, you want to take this one, Linda?
I don't know. I would say frequency. No.
Yeah.
Frequency.
Yeah. Well, for me, guides, my understanding is that your own spirit guides are really just extensions of yourself, right? Parts of you that are in spirit. Whereas the guardian angels, I believe, are separate to me. And they're just maybe a higher level, a closer level to the source energy. I don't know. That's how it feels to me.
Yeah. And actually, if you look at Robert Detzler's book, The Freedom Path, he's got a chart in there, chart 3, and he has kind of a hierarchy of different entities. And your spirit guide is, spirit guides are on a higher level, because they're closer to source, and they're there to be guides. They give you information and whatever. And, I just checked it here. It was not your guardian angels that were doing that. It was spirit guides doing a course correction. That was the more accurate.
Oh, okay.
Description. That's what I thought.
Now, the pendulum did something interesting when I asked the question, was it spirit guides? It went to when it goes up and down, when it goes an up and down like this, it's a yes. When it goes back and forth, it's a no. But when it does a little thing goes kind of to the left,
diagonal,
usually you're not asking the right question, or I'm not telling.
You know what? For me, with my actual pendulum,
Uh-huh.
and it changes. Have you had your directions change before?
Sometimes, yeah.
My directions have changed, so I know what my yes and my no is. But if I confuse my pendulum or I don't ask it clear enough, it bounces.
When I ask the absolute wrong question, it dies. It just goes absolutely still. Like you have asked the wrong question.
and that's the beauty of it, because here's two people working with the similar tool and having a different experience, because it gets your tool will be in tune with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can pick up his pendulum and get totally different yeses and nos and everything, because it's not. Plus, I would never pick up his pendulum because it is totally in his energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned that one before, Linda. The importance of basically guarding your energy where your particular tool, a pendulum or whatever, is involved.
Yeah, or even crystals. Like people want it. When I wear crystals all the time. People want to touch them. I'm like, well, you can touch that. It's working with my energy, and they don't mind when I tell them, But some people are like, "What?" I'm like,
"Yeah."
I mean, literally, I would have them hanging from my wallet, go to pay something, and the clerk is touching them. Like,
the things that people do. I mean, I can't imagine doing that, but I know there are some who would.
They have an energy. It's very magnetic. It's and people want to feel it or touch. They don't know it. They're just drawn to it, unless they actually know about this.
My particular pendulum, mine's just a simple piece of plastic. And when you're learning SRT work for the first time, they encourage you to get a pendulum that has inner properties. So plastic, metal without a very high vibration. So that way, you know that it's not your pendulum. It's your connection what you're receiving. Now, that's not to say that this is the only pendulum I use. I have other pendulums with magnets in them. I got crystal ones and whatever, and they do different things depending on the property of the crystal, the property of the actual thing. It makes a difference because I've got one particular pendulum that is actually. If you hold on a second, I'll show the camera. I got it right here.
Okay. We'll have a short commercial break here. This is a good time to mention, if you're not yet a subscriber, please become a subscriber. Easy to do. Just go to loatoday.net and just follow the link. It's right at the top of the page. It says click here. You follow it and you become a subscriber. So there's our 10-second commercial while Bill went to get his pendulum. So tell us about the pendulum.
This is a pendulum that was made by an artisan named Tom Letter out in Colorado. And the inside of it is a magnet, and the outside of it, the black on the outside, is the epoxy mixed with the ashes of 1,000 prayers. This guy goes to India every year and spends a week in a monastery where he takes the pictures of saints and mantras and all sorts of things, and they put them in a big pile and they light them on fire, and then he gathers up the ashes and he takes them back to Colorado and he mixes them with epoxy, and he makes pendulums, and he makes what he calls swords of light, and the swords of light are selenite with a Lemurian crystal on the end as a generator, and the handle is more of this stuff. And they're very, very powerful light tools. Nina uses it for doing, whenever she's doing acupuncture in an area that is either obscured by clothes because, it's in a part where it's be too uncomfortable to undress, or that it's on a part of the body which the needling would be very painful. She'll use the light wand instead to activate that point. And it's extremely effective. In fact, some of her clients have said that the light wand is more effective than the needles.
Yeah, wow.
Very interesting.
So this particular pendulum I use specifically for clearing stuck energy on the body. So when somebody has having pain, or they've got stuck energy in any particular chakra, I'll use this pendulum to clear it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you do similar things, Linda? Do you have like certain pendulums or certain tools for certain activities?
Not anymore. These days, I just channel whatever wants to come through.
Well, that makes it simple.
When I was doing only Reiki, I would use crystals and also I'd combine crystal healing and Reiki together.
Mm-hmm.
But it just evolved into something, there's so many different things available to work with out there, and you got to find which ones you're drawn to.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, I never intended to do any of this stuff.
This work calls you. It does not the other way around.
It just evolved, and I was drawn to different things, and
Well, actually, in some ways, you kind of by just reading the energy, so to speak, you've kind of evolved and are evolving toward where I consider to be the ideal place to go. It's almost to the point now where you're just having a conversation, and to me, that's like the best. Because, I mean, that's like full thought process going on there. Mm-hmm. Whereas when you're doing yes or no, it's kind of like playing 20 questions.
Well, you know what? I had, and this was a couple of years ago. Actually, this was like 10 years ago. A friend of mine, no, maybe not that long. Anyway, I'm talking to her at a party. She's a massage therapist, and she's a beautiful woman. But she says, I just feel so old and so drained, especially after I'm massaging somebody. And I look in the mirror and I just look so drained. And I'm like, well, Marcella, do you do anything to clear your energy or to hold, She goes, huh? No clue. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just having a conversation. I was not doing any healing with her intentionally. And I'm just explaining to her about, things you can do to protect your energy and stuff like this. Mm-hmm. She goes, you know what? Can we go sit down? I'm like, okay. So we go and we sit down, and I'm continuing to talk. She goes, I think I'm going to faint. I'm like, okay, just be with the energy. I realized, okay, she's actually processing right this minute. And she let go of so much energy to where she almost really literally passed out.
Wow.
So anyway, then I kicked into healing mode and started doing things with her. And then she was like, wow. She like was so bright, and she didn't know how much she was holding on to, because she's like, her soul is going to help people heal, right? And she doesn't realize she's just sucking it all in.
Yeah.
And that's why she was feeling so like, she was holding a lot of energy that wasn't her own. Yeah. So pretty interesting, because I didn't intend to do anything with her. It's just the conversation, and probably her team behind her's like, yes, finally, she needs to know this. Let's. She didn't hear our messages to learn about this, So
a kid does not go to his high school guidance counselor and say, "I want to be an energy healer."
That's true. It's not exactly a typical career path.
No, it is not as typical. Yeah. And again, my background is in accounting and finance and education. And, my wife has always been she's been involved with this stuff for a very long time. And so I learned a lot of stuff through osmosis, but, I found myself being the counselor, being the whatever, and learning a lot of this stuff basically by necessity. I mean, I learned Reiki because I needed to, help a family member deal with, dying, so I learned Reiki to help with that situation. And then I learned SRT because I was living in a haunted house, and, we needed a way of clearing out the entities because they kept coming over and over and over again. And every time we had the house cleared, more would show up. And so I learned SRT. And so, I didn't intend to make a career out of it. And then when we moved to Vermont, and I found that I was very unhappy with my life, the way it was way it was progressing. And I was still doing SRT on the side, just, for friends and family or whatever. And then someone was like, you're really good at this. Have you thought about maybe like charging for this? And we're like, no, not really. And then I looked into it and I was like, oh, wow. Okay. And then as I started learning the craft more and more and getting really a lot deeper in it, I was like, whoa, wow, there's a lot I don't know. And this is kind of exciting. This is actually making me want to learn again. And it's making me grow. It's making me get rid of my own stuff. And so here I am. I'm doing the work.
Well, I had 2 cards fall out while I was shuffling.
Oh, okay.
And I honestly have no idea what they're going to tell us. I mean, I could kind of assume it, but one was the indecision card, but in reverse.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one's the thinking man, right side up.
Okay.
Do we want to know about them?
Yeah, sure. Let's find out.
All right, because somebody needs to hear it. Okay, so let's see. I saw indecision first, so let's do that one. And I kind of broke my reading glasses, so we'll see how it goes.
Oh, no.
Okay, so it says indecision, which choice to make. This card makes the presence of 2 or more possible choices in your life. It shows you anxiously looking at 2 roads, wondering which would be a better choice. Yet you are still standing, feeling confused by the up and down emotions of your present indecision. You could spend days, months, or even years in this back and forth energy, all the while feeling your focus and your life force and energy draining away. This indecision creates a paralysis of will, one that can keep you stuck while you're waiting to be certain about the results of your choice. It's time to let go of the analysis and self-doubt and that have been keeping you stuck. Meditate on your options and see where your spirit guides you. Consider which direction resonates with you most, both in the process and in the goal. Follow your heart and make an honoring choice. So I skipped a beat in there because I was kind of hearing that this card could possibly just be speaking to those people who want to believe that this, since we're so much in the healing work we're talking about today, almost like deciding, this could be, maybe this is for me. Maybe this is something I can do to move forward in my life. I don't know, unless it's speaking to anyone specifically to an actual decision, which could be maybe Walt in some way.
It could be. I wouldn't want to speculate one way or another because I'm still processing it, to be honest. So
okay. So anyway, whatever that is. So it's kind of like, move in a direction. But for me, I would be like, call in with, maybe you don't believe it or not, but you'd have these guides and angels and they'll help you.
I believe it more than I did a year ago, I can tell you that.
I know you do, but I mean, for people who are listening who maybe don't get what we're talking about today,
right?
Maybe at least just line up with the idea that, maybe I can have support in spirit to help me with this decision that I'm contemplating. So let's go to the thinking man, right? Hold on a second. Ooh, I read the wrong card.
Uh-oh.
We're supposed to do indecision upside down.
That's right.
I read it right side up. We get to hear more.
But wait, there's more.
There's more. Yeah, because I just saw the thinking man right side up, and I thought, oh, no, I had the wrong one. So anyway, in the reverse position, so, there's never an accident. Somebody needed to hear that. Right? Whoever's going to listen to this. So anyway, reverse says, congratulations. This card reverse indicates a newfound freedom from indecision. You have either recently made or are just about to make an important decision. This is an important time, so bring a clarity of consciousness to your new direction. The fragmented and confused energy that you've been sending out is gone. And now you can bring new structure to your plans and your life. I like this card. It says you may not have known what to do in the past, but your soul has been trying to guide you all along. Open up to the potential of this time and create some clear and powerful intentions regarding your new choice. Then let yourself move forward with purpose and personal power. All right, I like it. That's good.
I do like that. And that one actually resonates for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it actually brings in, Spirit's been trying to tell you which way to go, and you're getting it now and you're moving along. Okay,
well,
so
and it goes along with what we were talking about earlier too, about when the work finds you, there's a decision to be made, and then once you've made that decision to do the work, it's very freeing.
yeah, but you mean as a healer, and it could be both, or as the client?
Both, yeah.
Yeah, both. Okay, so cool, because we've touched on both of those already today. So 46 is definitely the right side up, so I'm only going to read right side up.
Okay.
Male of wisdom or understanding in the upright position. It says, this card shows a man standing before an archway, gazing at a crystal in his hand. He's a thoughtful and reflective man representing the potential presence of a teacher in your life now or about to arrive soon. This person may be there to educate you in the finer details of your chosen direction, or may be there to assist you in some specific spiritual, mental, or personal pursuits. The card is telling you to pay attention, for this could lead you to great strides in personal and professional growth. This man may also be a love interest coming your way, or perhaps just a new male friend. Be on the lookout for this guide in the physical world and be open to his information. Learn what you can. A new discipline, technique, course of study, or healing practice could change your life forever. All right.
Now, Linda, I got to tell you, as you were reading that card, we got a question from someone in the audience saying, can I have a love reading? Is anyone coming who's nice? And there you are reading this card about this person who's coming.
Right. And the other thing about the card, it might say a male, but it could be a male or a female. Mm-hmm. So, it's not really gender specific.
Yeah. But I just thought the timing of that was just exquisite.
So,
Faiza, there's your answer. Even as you're asking the question, it's being read to you on screen before we could even ask Linda to answer the question.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Yeah. Well, you always talk about how any of these cards that we draw, they're really for everyone who's listening, whether they're listening live or to the podcast recording or whatever.
Yeah. You know what's fun about the cards too, and I don't know if I've shared it with you before, Walt, but I mean, I used to hold meditation, in-person meditation groups, mm-hmm. and I'd always do card readings for each person, right?
Ah, yeah.
So this one woman gets this card, and she's like, no, totally nothing to do with me. Like, kind of skeptical. Mm-hmm. I'm like, all right, we'll just see what happens. It was an 8-week course, right? She comes back the next week, picks the same card. So we're like, okay, so I read it again, and we're looking into what it could be, and she's like, no, it doesn't resonate one bit. I'm like, okay, well, whatever, card's a card, and usually there's a message in there, but maybe there isn't. Go on with the rest of the course, whatever. Then she comes in the third week, 3 weeks in a row, picks the same card again. The same card, 3 weeks in a row. And not only that, I have, I usually put out like 6 decks of cards, and they can pick 3 cards from only total of 3 from any 6 decks. So she kept going back to that same deck. But she could have picked any number of cards. There's like hundreds of cards on the floor.
Crazy.
Mat in my karate school in the dojo. So and then she's like, all right, I'm going to pay attention to it this week. Comes back the 4th week, and she's like, I totally get it. I can't believe I didn't see it. And then this happened this week, and blah, blah, blah. And there was the story unfolded, right?
That's just insane. Yeah. And we are getting questions from people asking for card readings. The way we like to approach this is Linda pulls a couple cards, and those cards are really for everybody. So the message is actually in the cards that she's read. And maybe it's along the line of what you just talked about, Linda. Maybe it's somebody missing that, there's a message there that's really for them. So. And
they kind of really do tie in with what we've been talking about all day today. Even the other card, like we were talking about how we didn't intend to be healers, but here one thing led to the other, and next thing you know,
right,
this is where you are.
Exactly. Yeah. Interesting thing too about cards, and I'm curious to know what your take is on this. So I get the feeling, and this isn't just about cards, this is about all kinds of different modalities that people are interested in and use and so forth. But I get the impression that so many people expect a card or an affirmation or a process of some kind or anything, the things that you can do they expect it to be like a magic wand. They expect it to be something that's just going to fix something for them. Do you run into that with cards and card readings?
You know what? Maybe people who aren't really used to working with them. But usually people have an understanding that they're just tapping into something some wisdom for them to hear and to take forward in their life, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, and I can tell you another woman would pick the same card over a period of time. She was buying a new house. She kept getting contract upside down.
Okay.
It was so funny. And then they were running into problems with buying this house.
Oh.
And then, and she might have gotten this card 2 or 3 times, but it wasn't 3 weeks in a row. It was just the same card over a period of time. And the last time she got it, it was in a way that showed that everything cleared up. And the next thing you know, the house was purchased.
Wow. Nice. Yeah. So that's a place where the card really actually served the purpose in helping her to break through there. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
And I'm pretty sure, I think that card was, talking about delays and actually really referring to legal type things. But not that it wasn't going to happen, that there was it's just not happening right now. There's things in the way and stuff to be cleared, whatever that was. And that's what was happening.
It's almost like the card was giving her the message, just wait for it. Just be patient. Wait for it. It's coming.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. This is what's going on, but it's no big deal. Mm-hmm. Right. And so she's trying to hold on to that because she was really in a little bit of fear about, oh no, it's not going to happen,
Well, that's just it. That's what people do. I do it. I know lots of people do it. You can see it in terms of the comments on Facebook or in other social media. We get so wrapped up in, oh God, this thing's got to happen. Whatever this thing is, it's got to happen. And I'm getting so anxious about it. And I'm clutching this thing and I'm clutching so hard that it's not happening. We really get wrapped up.
Yeah, but then what you're doing is just blocking all the many ways in which it could come to you in a better way that's more in alignment,
Yeah.
It takes a little while to get used to letting go. It's a challenge, right? I'm finally getting into that place of surrender and letting go where I can hold it because I'm very much a doer. Mm-hmm. I want to make things happen.
Sure.
And sometimes they don't want to be made to happen. I'm like, okay, all right, okay, I'll wait, be patient.
Well, we're humans. We come into the world. We don't come into this world to be couch potatoes. We come into this world to actually do things because that's part of the fun. And I think that's where it gets a little bit confusing because on the one hand, we like to do things. On the other hand, what we learned from this study is, well, there's a time to do something. There's a time to sit back and kind of draw a balance on that.
This thing with patience, too, I'll just add quickly, is that I have an Osho Zen Tarot deck on my phone, and it'll give me a card every day in the morning at 8 o'clock. There's a card. And I had the patience card like twice in the past week and a half. I'm like, okay, I get it. Working on that. Yeah.
Well, it's nice to know that it's not just the rest of us who are working with it who are finding it difficult to be patient. It's nice to know the gurus have trouble with it too sometimes.
I mean, we're creators, right? We want to make things, we're doers. At least I'm very much a doer, And
I know Bill's a doer. Bill's a crazy doer. I mean, ever since, I don't know if you knew this, Linda, he and I used to do a podcast many years ago before LOA Today. He and I did a thing called the Freedom News Hour when we were both delving into news and all kinds of stuff that's unhealthy for you. And then we reconnected later on. We found out we're both into the spiritual stuff. We thought, whoa, that's pretty wild.
That's pretty wild, yeah.
So, and I just know from Bill's background, I mean, he has a lot of doing that he does. So is that a challenge for you too?
Yeah, yes, it is. Well, actually, my challenge is sitting, because I would often my knee-jerk reaction whenever faced with a challenge is to go and fix it. So I'm always trying to fix, and so whenever a challenge comes up, I've in my 24 years of marriage, we've moved 11 times.
Wow.
So every time that the going got tough, we moved. because we assumed that the problem wasn't something that we could fix where we were. We needed to be somewhere else to make a better situation. And you take your problems with you.
Absolutely.
And so with the building the practice that we have here in Vermont. I mean, Vermont is a lovely, lovely place, and we absolutely love living here. But it's just not very population dense. So building a holistic healing practice is a challenge here because there's just simply not that many people. If we were in a metropolitan area that was more densely populated, we would probably have a thriving practice in no time. But this is where we are. So Spirit is challenging us. Build it, make it work right where you are. And we're going to make it impossible for you to move.
Well, can you do some of your work? Can you do some of your work online? You can, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes. We do.
Yeah,
We do the work.
then.
That's right. But building an online practice is actually more challenging than building a face-to-face challenge, a face-to-face practice, because there's a lot of internet marketing stuff and whatever, and Google searches that you got to get on it, whatever. It's more challenging than people give it credit for. Some people are like, I'll just build something online. I'll build a business online. It's hard. It's not easy to build a practice online because you're a voice in a chorus, and you need to find a way to, get above that chorus.
Yeah, but don't forget, you're a voice who can speak to billions of people.
That's right. Now,
you only need a couple, like you don't need a billion of them to be, you don't have to have.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I did while you were pulling the cards and talking there, I did a quick reading for the audience.
Oh, okay.
I've the equivalent of pulling a card.
Okay.
So 4 charts came up. The first one was from the Creating the Illusion chart, the etheric body out of balance. From the Freedom is Free chart, all perspective is point of view. From the Final Light chart, personal soul package. And from the Final Assurance chart, things that are hidden, buried, or covered up. And so the interpretation, it's interesting that we're talking about this particular subject because this very much goes along with it. Because when we talk about the etheric body being out of balance, what we're talking about is our connection. Our etheric body is that which connects to source. And when it's out of balance, we feel alone in the world, and that our decisions are our own, and it's not really affected by anything else. And then all perspective is point of view. Yeah, it's your point of view that this is the way it is. And it may not be what is actually happening here, because it's what you're seeing is the shadows of Plato's cave. You're seeing the illusion here. Now, personal soul package. Every one of us come into life with a personal soul package. That package includes contracts with other people. It comes with your plan for your lifetime. And then we have things that are buried, hidden, buried, and covered up. There are mysteries to be uncovered and whatever. So when we take all of that together, the message for the audience again is that we need to open up to our etheric, to source, to energy. We need to be open to that personal soul package, opening up that soul package, feeling the freedom to edit that soul package as we see fit, as according to our highest good. And we do that by not being afraid of uncovering that which is hidden within our souls. So, let's clear that. What we do here is we get the pendulum to do its thing. And when it goes to a yes response, then we've adjusted the energy accordingly.
All right, good.
Okay. And there we go.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's good.
Good stuff.
Interesting, too, because you guys are both focusing today on stuff that if you had just asked me about it before the show, I would have said, well, it's perfect because our audience is going to be people who are exploring law of attraction, who are interested in it, who are trying to understand how to apply it in their lives. And the cards you drew, Linda, are very generic for those kinds of people. Bill, you just correctly said this is for people who are searching. They're searching, trying to learn this. I mean, you both just pulled this right out of the air. So you couldn't have matched it better. And I didn't even ask you to do it. That's even better.
Hey, and maybe that thinking man is Walt Thiessen. Listen to these shows every week, and you're going to learn a few things.
This is true. This is true. I'll tell you something else, too. I can't remember which one of you was talking about this, but you were talking about being a fixer. Bill, I think it was you who was talking about being a fixer. And by God, that was me for years and years and years. It's only in the last year and a half that I've tried to deliberately let go of that, because about a year ago during the winters, like a year ago, February, January of 2018, something like that, I found that I was getting problem after problem to solve continuously, more than I could handle. And most of them were computer related, because most of what I do is computer related. And so I was getting all these computer problems to solve. And I was getting really, really tired of it. It's like one after another, after another, after another, after another. I mean, it's just getting overwhelming. And I think I was having a conversation with Cindy Chavez, and she pointed out, well, maybe you ought to actually focus on not having problems, but having solutions instead. I thought, well, geez, that's a good idea. Why didn't I think of that one? So I started focusing on, well, I'm not interested in focusing on problems anymore. I'm just interested in focusing on solutions. Within like days, the problem flow went away.
Yeah.
And it ties in perfectly with what you're talking about, because that's being a fixer. That is fixing stuff. I had to fix. And then I finally became overwhelmed. So it's almost like spirit guides or guardian angels or somebody was trying to say to me, well, okay, you keep asking for problems. Here's more problems for you. How many more do you want? We've got more problems than you could possibly handle. And I finally got the message like, okay, I don't want to focus on problems anymore. I want to focus on solutions. Got it.
Right. And if you can just breathe and stop having to fix everything, guess what? The solution, great idea, pops right in.
And that's been happening.
Yeah, when clients describe stuff like that, we say that the spirits are hitting you over the head with a piano.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are some of us who do require the 2x4.
Yeah, 2x4. I like the piano better. The piano's more permanent.
You can like the piano all you want to. Personally, I'd rather, if I had to choose between a piano and a 2x4, the 2x4 is lighter, not going to hurt quite as much as a piano. So. Just call it a personal preference. That's all it is.
But sometimes you need the piano to hit you, because a lot of times when we do the work that we do, you have to be in a place where you really, really want the work. And if you are moseying along in life and things are pretty okay, they're not great, but they're not terrible at the same time, and then you sit down with us and you're like, okay, you need to change this and this, and this, so we're going to clear this, and you need to work on this. The motivation's not there. It's like, well, okay, well, I can live with that pain. Yeah, it's just a little pain or whatever. So when people come and see us, and they're ready to do the work, they're usually in a pretty low place. They are at a point where it's this way or jumping off a bridge. I mean, it really is. And the thing is, when you're at that low place, though, you're ready. You are absolutely ready to make that change. And hopefully you learn through the process that you don't have to wait until the piano hits you. You know, and so we provide...
Which is reassuring, by the way. I'm glad to know that. I'm sure other listeners are glad to know that.
Yes, you don't have to wait until the piano hits you.
Yeah.
But usually people don't get there to learn that you don't have to have the piano hit you until the pianos hit you.
We are a perverse species, you know that? Oh, dear. Well, the main thing is learning is happening. And it's been quite an adventure for me, particularly over the last couple of years. I mean, all the 6.5 years I've been doing the podcast has been an adventure, but especially over the last year and a half. And I'm thinking about that one particular story about, you know, letting go of being a fixer and just, you know, focusing on solutions and so forth. That learning to let go part is a little challenging at first, and it has proved to be challenging over time. But the more that I do it, the more that stuff happens, and it's like, oh, something happened there. That was tied to something I was thinking about over. Oh, something happened over there, and you start noticing stuff. It's a little bit disconcerting at first, but over time, it's starting to feel a little bit more normal, starting to feel a little bit more natural. And the beautiful thing that goes along with it is it also starts to feel a whole lot more relaxing.
Right.
And of course, that ties in with what we're trying to do.
And also when it comes to abundance too, you can't be abundant unless you are feeling abundant.
Yeah.
And so if you approach life with, I got to make money, or I'm going to be homeless, the universe here is homeless. And that I'm coming at it from a position of lack.
Right.
And that's exactly what you'll get. So, and it's very, very hard for people to do this, especially people like you and me, Walt, who are fixers. You know, we're like, oh, we don't have enough money to pay the rent this month. Oh God, we got to do something drastic in order to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
When the answer is, no, just let it go, man.
Yeah. Let
it go. And just say to the universe, let it come. And then it comes. And you're like, oh, wow, that was, wow. That is,
yep.
Wow, I didn't have to worry at all about that.
Yeah. Of course, it also helps when you have a whole bunch of co-hosts who are experts at being coaches and energy people and all that kind of stuff, guiding you along the way too. That was probably the smartest thing I ever did in doing the podcast and bringing in all these experts to talk to, because not only is it great for the audience, boy, it's great for me too. It's helped me to accomplish exactly that kind of thing, letting go, just trusting that it's all going to happen. And it's a cool thing.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that I've noticed, and I think other people notice this too, most people have like one thing that they're weak at. They also have one or two other things about that trio that they're strong at. Mm-hmm. And for me, relationships and health, they're pretty good. We're pretty strong about those. But even with those areas, we still end up learning. We still end up discovering. And hello, my wife is coming in here.
Can I leave this with you?
Yep.
If Leona calls it.
Okay. Yep. We're going out to dinner tonight. And we have friends coming in, actually from Vermont, believe it or not.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah, they're flying in from Mount Snow. So, they're on their way to Mexico.
Look, we have a cat visitor too.
We have a cat visitor.
Yes, that's Polly.
Hello, Polly.
She's our therapy cat. Whenever a client comes to the house, she sits on their lap, and then when they go on the table, she sits on them while they're getting the needles put in them.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
It's good to have a therapy cat, especially when you do a therapeutic practice. That's good.
Yeah. Well, and if the cat's purring, it vibrates at 500 on the scale of
There you go.
Very healing. No, we're up in the love mode. Yeah.
I wonder, is that how high a cat's purr goes?
Mm-hmm. It calibrates at 500. But you had Liz on your show one time.
That's right.
She's expert in that.
Yeah, because I remember that 500 was that was pretty high up there. That was a pretty high level.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was really interesting too, that show. That was also the show where she talked about how she had this huge, high spiritual experience, like up into the 1,000 or something like that. And then she had a crash after it and all that.
Had a couple. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like a cautionary tale. Like, go one step at a time. Don't try to do it in large bursts.
we give our clients fair warning when they come and see us sometimes. When we're doing like really heavy energy work, we're like, okay, you're going to feel like crap tomorrow, but you're going to feel better overall.
Right.
Just trust you're going to feel better overall. And if the super high that you're feeling right now, you're going to crash. Drink lots of water. Drink lots of water. It helps cleanse the body, cleanse the energy out. And, yes, you got to do that.
I've had people getting sick walking in to come and see me. But it's like it's already, their soul knows we're ready to release. And the work I do, you release it through the body, Mm-hmm. So things turn on. And the same thing. Some people get sick afterwards. It happens.
That's crazy. Well, but it makes sense.
I've been sick for 2 weeks. I'm like, thank you. Okay, are we done yet? Let's finish purging.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, Nina just went off to a shamanic workshop, and that was like 3 weeks ago, and she's just now starting to feel better.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because that's heavy duty stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and health that's one of the triad. That's one of the three things that people are most interested in. And I find health to be a fascinating topic. I'm realizing I need to be a little bit less fascinated by it because I think my fascination didn't cause it. I know that. But I think my fascination may have kind of contributed to energy Louise was going through because she went through a major health crisis. She's never had a health crisis. Of all the time, we've been together 21 years now, never had a health crisis. And all of a sudden, the year I start really getting interested in it, she has a health crisis. So yeah, be careful what you focus on, folks. That's the message.
Or maybe in some way it's a bit of a gift to have you actually focus more into that so you can help people in that way.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because also a lot of good things have come out of that too.
Yeah, because there's purpose to everything, right? I mean, sometimes it's hard to hear that, but there is.
There is. Yeah, it's hard to hear it, especially when you're in the middle of it.
Right.
But we're now 3-4 months removed from it, and it feels entirely different on this side of that time span that we went through. So yeah, no doubt about it. Well, this has been good. This has been a very fun three-way exchange. So, Bill, thank you for joining us on the show today. That was great. I'm glad you came on, and I got to hear you guys go back and forth. That was fun.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you.
It was nice meeting you too. I've been following your podcast for a while, so I've been.
All right, thank you.
Well, good stuff. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you also to our live stream listeners and to our podcast listeners as well, because that's where most people are anyway, and we really love you guys the most. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Into it.
All right.